Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Oscar Buzz. Trevor here, joined by Thomas as always, and we're talking about the Marvels today from Nia DeCosta. But let's be real, the director of this was Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
Nia DeCosta, I do think, is a good filmmaker, and it would be nice if she was actually allowed to make things. Go watch some of her earlier stuff.
Yeah, just
But
not
this,
Candyman or this, really.
but this movie. I'll let you start. I don't know. Never mind. I'm not gonna let you start.
No.
This film it's not good. I don't think it works. But it's just another bad MCU film. I don't think it's quite as bad as things like Love and Thunder and Quantumania. I know you do. But it's a piece of content. You can't call this a film. It is a piece of content designed purely to just profit and to be the most agreeable possible and to take absolutely the most minimal risks. It's just, I don't know. It's not a film.
Yeah, and I mean, the problem is the more just piece of content we get, the worse they become, just because we've seen
Yeah.
it again and again and again. Like, the more it repeats, the
Yeah.
worse it is. So I did do quite an extended letterbox on
So did
why
I.
sort of
We both
why
did.
I thought, yeah, we did on different topics though, which is
Yeah.
check out both of them. But yeah, I sort of that was explaining why I think that the recent crop of Marvel films are actually worse than what we got before. Like, it's not that they were always at this bad. Something has happened. I think that is
Yeah.
just a drive for profit making, because this film is set up. It's not a film within itself, as you say. Like, the characters are barely that. The story is barely that. Like, it's all just vehicles to set up the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So we get an endless cycle of content. It's not that hard to work out that this is the Marvel sort of master plan at this point. Eternals was still set up to set up the Eternals.
This is the best MCU film, and it is actually great. And it's
No.
the only MCU film that I
We're
will
not
defend.
having this discussion again. You can check out our review from like 2 years ago if you really want to find. If you really
Have a
want to
lot
go into
squeakier
the
voices.
deep research. Exactly. We were like 14 then. So
That's
anyway,
not how
no,
math
that's not even
works.
true. That's not quite true
That
at
we were
all.
like
We were
16.
16. 50. I think I was 50. No,
Anyways,
whatever. Anyway, this film, it's very easy to get sidetracked on because there's really nothing to discuss. It's a very nothing affair.
no, it is a very nothing film.
Yeah, the comedies, it's the same comedy we've seen before. There was a couple like humorous moments with Miss Marvel. I really like Miss Marvel,
Yeah.
but if you want Miss Marvel, just watch the show.
Right.
To
The
be
only thing
honest,
I'll
like
defend
show
is
that.
Mom Vellani.
Yeah, exactly.
Good as Miss Marvel.
Yeah, for
she's
sure.
Good. She's fun. She works well in the role. I enjoyed when she was on screen, but as you say, you could just go watch Miss Marvel.
Exactly. She's better utilized there. She's got more to do, and the show is actually half decent. Whereas this is just flat out a bad film. Yeah, there's really just nothing to it whatsoever. Like, it's maybe, like you said to me before streaming, it sets up some interesting ideas. Sure, it does set up some interesting ideas about maybe refugees and that sort of stuff with the Skrulls or whatever. But it really fundamentally doesn't do anything with them.
Yeah.
So therefore, I can't count that as
right.
a
And I do
tick in my box
just
just because it doesn't go anywhere.
This film, the editing of this film is absolutely atrocious, and it screams of something that was chopped to fuck by a studio. Okay.
Yeah, I can see that.
I do think, I mean, like I did afterwards, because a couple other people brought this up. There's like long sequences and a great number of shots in the trailers that didn't even show up in the film, and it felt like there were chunks missing, and the more interesting chunks missing. Like, I mean, especially during that first act and a half, just atrocious editing. And like I said, I do feel, because like Nia DeCosta is a smart person. Like, go watch Little Woods. It's a pretty decent film. Like, she's a competent filmmaker. I don't think that she would make something like this. She even said in an interview that you have to. She says something along the lines of you have to be ready when you're making an MCU film that the film isn't really yours. It's Kevin Feige's. You're just there. And it again, this film didn't really feel like hers. It felt like something that was made by a studio. It felt like something that was manufactured. And I think that that's sad, because we should be letting art, it's like, okay, you're giving a black woman a chance to direct an MCU film, but you're not actually going to let her direct.
Yeah.
But no, I do think that there is a cut of this film. There's a version of this film that it probably isn't good, but it's probably at least like passable. It's probably decent for as far as like MCU standards go. Like it could work.
And I tell you what, it is in an unfortunate position because, like, there's been a lot of discourse recently about sort of films, blockbusters in particular, getting longer and longer and longer. This very much feels like it was a reaction to it. Like, potentially, as you say, there was a cut of this film that was like around 2.5
That's what I'm saying. I
hours.
feel like there was a test screening and they
Yeah,
cut it a bunch.
exactly. And they just went, no, cut. And it definitely feels very spliced here. It's appalling. Yeah, it actually is what this film is. So much shows that half of the time you don't really understand what's going on. You sort of get the general grasp it because it's a very simplistic plot. Like
Yeah,
it's
I was
not a
kind
very
of
complex
lost.
thing. But you do get lost. You don't really understand what's going on at any point. Like you sort of vaguely get to understand what's happening towards the end of the scene, and then suddenly we're in a completely new scene. But not only that, we're in a completely new location with completely new characters that we haven't seen before. And you asked who was this made for? This was made for the films next year. This is not made for anyone now. It's not made for anyone in the
No, it
present. It's
isn't.
made
Yeah.
to set up next year's crop of films that potentially won't even come out at this rate, given how much this film is
Well,
fading.
only
The box
Deadpool 3 is
office.
coming out next year, apparently. So
Exactly. And you just like Marvel has lost their audience, and I don't think they've really they've registered that clearly through the box office failures, but I don't think they've really registered it yet. You can't just sell a film on a
I mean,
post-credit
and to be
sequence.
fair,
Yes,
like think about
you can't sell
this.
it on that.
This film's box office. It was a film to come out during. This is the only MCU film to come out during the SAG strike. So obviously, a lack of promo that's going to hurt it.
Yeah,
And
but
I
even
just
I would imagine it would have done the same as Ant-Man Quantumania, which also failed. So like, it's not.
yeah,
It
but it
wouldn't have
was
done
stronger.
much better than
It
that.
did stronger at the box office. Like it at least made like 500 mil or something like that. Like let's. I just want to preface before we talk more about a lot of it because like there isn't really that much to say about this film. I think that we've already kind of had the conversation. I more just want to talk about where we're at with the MCU. And listen, if you enjoy,
I just want to say before we get into that conversation, it's a testament that we haven't even discussed the villain. I think that just goes.
oh yeah, because the villain's not there. The villain's not there.
Exactly. We didn't even feel the need to bring it up, but I guess
Yeah.
it's an important part of the film that is just completely forgettable.
No, but the
Completely just
antagonist is
dreadful.
essentially non-existent.
Yeah.
But like, listen, if you enjoyed this film, like, I'm happy for you. I wish that I could enjoy every film. And I do think that there are a lot of people being like, you know, oh, this film's, you know, ruining us, ending the MCU because, you know, they're going woke and they're doing female characters. Like, no, the MCU's already been spiraling downward.
The MCU ended in May 2019 for release of
Like,
Avengers Endgame. Like,
and like again, like people like on a broad level, like yes, if people feel represented by this, you know, yes, it's fun for people to see like characters that you know they feel represent them. Seeing like it's wild seeing like you know a Muslim woman superhero like on the big screen.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't happen.
No.
But I don't think that you can just like get off on just that. And I don't again, this how capitalism works is that if you have a group of people that you see as a viable audience, then you are going to target them through marketing. Marvel didn't decide to just be like, oh, we're going to push, you know, like, you know, we're going to do like black superheroes, we're going to do, you know, female-led superhero films. If they didn't see an audience for it, and they're doing it because they saw an audience for it. They aren't doing it because they like actually care about this. They don't actually care about representation. They're doing it because it's going to make them money. Black Panther wouldn't have happened unless they thought it was going to make them money. I think Black Panther is a great film. That's like that and Eternals, I think, are the top two MCU films. I think it's
one of the
best
MCU films. Yeah, for sure.
But like again, that doesn't happen unless executives at Marvel think it's going to make the money. It's not about representation. And I wrote about this on Letterboxd. I think that people have like people develop like a parasocial relationship with companies and studios. Like Marvel, the company, doesn't care about you. You are a number, you are a statistic that they are trying to exploit to make more money off of. They are not making art for you to enjoy. They are making content to profit off of you. And I think I do genuinely think that there is a longer and probably better cut of this film that was chopped up because they saw a discourse that was like, oh, movie's too long, we got to cut it down. And then they decided to cut it down. And then we got this because it doesn't matter about the art to, make people the most, enjoyable, right? Like once you've bought a ticket, they don't care because they've already made the money. And if they think that a shorter film is going to make them more money at the box office, if they think a shorter film is going to make more people click on it on Disney Plus, then they're going to do that, regardless of artistic integrity, which is really, really sad. But people still like to engage with things like this, like they are actual, like, pieces of art that are made, by by people and not by a company. And I think that is where a lot of the problem is, like, but with the people who are like really upset about this and like, oh,
Yeah.
how could Marvel's ruining themselves? They're going away from their audience. They're betraying me. And we saw the same thing with Star Wars, right? When like it was like Rey was like the main character, and then Luke Skywalker is like a hermit living on an island. It's like it isn't for like like that was a risk. That was an actual artistic choice. You were
Yeah.
not betrayed by it. Those films owe nothing to you. Though that like Ryan Johnson was an artist who was making a choice. Whether you agree with it or not, whether you enjoy it or not, that was an artist who was making a choice. And he went for something, and he owes absolutely nothing to the audience, whether the audience enjoys it or not, whatever. And like a company can't betray you. Like you have no relationship with this company. It is like, product maker and consumer. And there's really nothing beyond that. And it's wild, I think, how people have started to have these parasocial relationships with companies. And it's a lot of insecure men whose only identity is just that they care about superhero movies and Star Wars and things like that. And then as soon as like they feel like something isn't representing them or they aren't enjoying something, then they feel betrayed by it because their identity is so like, fragile that there's nothing to it aside from their, consumption of media. And when the consumption of media feels like it is, going against them, that feels like a personal attack. And when people aren't liking the things, that's why oh, the Rotten Tomatoes didn't like it. Oh, the audience score didn't like it. Well, that's a personal attack against me. Like, no, it isn't. You are a separate person than the art than you consume. You can like, I think for both of us, film is very important for us.
Yeah.
And we love cinema, and cinema is like one of the most important things in our life. But the cinema we engage with and love, and that is not who we are. It can shape who we are and how we think about things, but it isn't who we are. Like I mean, I love artists like Phoebe Bridgers, Lana Del Rey, Taylor Swift. If they make a bad song, that isn't a betrayal against me. If somebody doesn't like a song by them, that isn't a personal attack against me. And there has to be a separation of yourself and the art you enjoy and you like and you consume. And the reason why we've had such this like wild pushback to this is because people tried to make this their entire identity. It is all their identity, and that doesn't work when you have a company making it and not an artist who's actually going to care about their audience.
Yeah, and the problem is, like, I can understand. I would just like, I don't disagree with anything you said, but I would just say, like, I think the MCU is a very particular case because it's one that is attempting to reward people for the more they put in. Like, the more you put in, you should be rewarded more. Like, that is in theory how the MCU works. If you've seen all the shows,
They're encouraging the parasocial relationship.
Exactly, they're encouraging it. So therefore, I understand why the outrage is so visceral. It is so dim. Like, I understand where the outrage is coming from. But the places people are choosing to vent it are often completely off base.
They're projecting their insecurities at like women rather than like this is the same exact thing where like people are like upset at like immigrants for coming to the company into the company. Well, the United States industrial complex, a company, but no, coming into the country, the United States, right? And there are people who are like, oh, I'm losing my job, all these things, oh, it's the fault of all the immigrants coming into the country. That's the problem. That's the problems with things. Or like, it's all trans people. That's the problem with things. Like, no, your frustrations are with capitalism, and your frustrations are with the constructs of capitalism that are oppressing you and keeping you down. But because people like refuse to accept that or don't understand that, then they project all of their insecurities and frustrations onto marginalized groups because they're easy targets. So I think a lot of people have been feeling upset and frustrated with this film. But it's a lot easier to, instead of projecting it at Marvel, which is, who you think it should be, it's a lot easier to project it at women and people of color, because they are an easy face to project at,
Yeah.
rather than the company that you think, like, you love and you have this relationship that you care about. So yeah.
Yeah, and because people are like, everyone's films like these push an agenda. This film is not pushing
It's
anything
not
other than
political at all.
getting people on seats. Exactly, and like I understand whether, like, if you've seen Secret Invasion, and because I've heard that the Fury, and like I'm lucky enough to be completely checked out as, like, I don't watch Secret Invasion. I didn't even know it was there.
Yeah.
So I'm not angry at this film. I just think it's a bad film. Like, and there are very valid criticisms there. But if you've seen Secret Invasion, you go, oh, Nick Fury different to there. Like, I get where the frustration is coming from. And there are valid criticisms within that, poor characterization consistency, poor narrative, the way the narrative is unfolding. There are valid criticisms with this film. This film is, in my mind, a very, very
It's a
flawed
bad
film.
film.
It's one of the worst MCU films. But, it's about where you're directing said criticism.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly. No, 100%, 100%. And, like, I mean, I'll bring up Taylor Swift again, because, like,
Sure.
Taylor
Swift, that's the important things about our Marvel 3.
Listen, Taylor Swift is someone who, like, very directly engages with her fans. She's encouraging fans, like, there was the whole Google scavenger hunt thing where you'd have to go and look and, like, engage with, like, the solving all the clues around Google, and to reveal the titles of the new songs. But it's like, that's very directly encouraging a parasocial relationship. Which I think is bad. Again, I like Taylor Swift a lot. I think it's bad to be very directly encouraging a parasocial relationship with your audience like that. But unlike the MCU, like, she is actually rewarding her audience for engaging with that parasocial relationship. So even though I think inherently that's bad, and it is just basically exploitative of using consumers for capitalism 101, right? But like that's always what Marvel did. That's always what big blockbusters have done. The difference is rewarding the audience. And
a lot of people throw around the idea of, they don't care about the fans. And you're damn right. They don't care about the fans.
They never have.
They don't care specifically about you. They don't care about anyone. It's not about you. It's not about your fan, like you.
And again, they never have. This isn't a new
They
thing.
just don't care about anyone. They care about money. And how can we rinse money.
Right.
And thankfully, like, it seems to be that I hope Marvel wake up to this idea that this is not working for anyone, because it's not working for anyone. But they obviously won't. But there's hope. You can at least hope, like, that something improves, because, like, I mean, they've managed to build a sort of dependency where, as I'm still watching these films as someone who hasn't really liked many things in Phase 4.
I'm not watching the shows. I'm only watching the films.
Exactly. I've cut out the shows. Exactly. Like, I am still watching the films though. So, like, and the question is, how long will I continue to do so? I don't know, because Ant-Man has tested my patience.
Okay, well, we're going to for reviews. But
exactly, that's the thing. Like, yeah.
If we weren't doing this, like, I don't know if I would.
I mean, I checked out the DCU. I haven't seen any DCU films for a long time. I didn't see Blue Beetle. I didn't see Shazam. I didn't see Black Adam. Like,
I didn't see Blue Beetle. I didn't see Black.
There is a time when people do just jump off these franchises and they just don't care anymore. I'm wondering if this is a sort of, like, we've been saying, all the MCU dead for ages, but, like, I don't know. The box office performance for this one is really in my mind proving.
I think, and again, I do think part of the box office can be contributed to the SAG strike. I do think that is an important factor.
I think part of it, I think it maybe would have done better than Quantumania. It wouldn't have done much better though. I really don't think it would have done much better. No. But there was no hype around this film whatsoever, because this is not really the film that needs sort of SAG.
I do think that Brie Larson going around would have helped.
Maybe. I'm not entirely sure I agree with you there. I think because the Marvel are such product films, like, no one, I don't think it really matters who the stars are really anymore.
I don't know. I think, I mean, obviously they wouldn't be doing publicity campaigns if they didn't work. Like,
no, but I don't know. I maybe would have been doing better than the worst performing MCU film ever. But I'm saying it wouldn't have been doing much better.
Yeah, and again, this is box office. This is mean, in the end, box office doesn't mean that much. And if you're arguing about, if people argue like box office equals like quality, or like, as a way to say that film's better, you're
Yeah,
dumb. I'm
exactly.
sorry,
Didn't
you're
Jurassic World Dominion make like $1 billion
a billion.
last year or
Yeah,
something like that? Yeah,
like
like
box
not a
office
testament
means
to quality at
absolutely
all.
nothing as far as quality. It's just a testament to how good the marketing was,
Yeah,
like, and how much like good word of mouth there is.
yeah, yeah,
So, I mean, I don't know. This is a weird thing. I mean, I'll just read the end of my Letterboxd review. Like, the film wasn't for me, right? The film wasn't for us. That's okay. Like, I haven't invested that much into the MCU. Like, if you like it, if it worked for you, if you connected with it, I'm happy for you. Like, I wish that I liked everything. And
yeah,
if there are people enjoying this, good for you. If you didn't like it, also, like, that's fine.
yeah.
That's okay. We didn't like it. If you felt like, this wasn't, like, you didn't feel like you were getting what you put into it based off watching those shows, whatever. But they didn't betray you. Like, there is
No,
no relationship that you have. You can feel upset, you can feel frustrated, but like, don't direct it at people who are enjoying it, or at marginalized groups. Like, there's no reason to do that. And I think that there's just a lot of nuance in this conversation that's lost. Like, it's it's a bad film, and it can just be simply that. It can be a bad film. The MCU can just be bad, and it can be nothing more. It doesn't have to be anybody's fault. It isn't, the fault of the MCU going in different directions. Like, it's the fault of they're just bad movies.
yeah.
Like,
I also think it's very interesting that this is a film that is far more talked about than most of the recent MCU puts out.
because
And it's
people,
doing very badly though. Like,
right?
I'm struggling to believe everyone who's talking about the film has even seen the film.
Yeah, all the
Not
people
to
like,
get too
oh, this is
conspiracy theory, not to put your weird hats on, but like this film has a weird amount of discourse for how
all of
badly
the
it's
people
doing.
on Twitter with blue check marks that are like, oh, this is so bad. Women should never make MCU movies again. It's like, did you
Yeah,
actually get like, and maybe you think it's actually bad, but if you do see it, but I don't like,
yeah,
again, this is the reason that we all know the reason this is talked about. It's because it's directed by a black woman, and it
yeah,
stars 3 women, and 2 of them are people of color. That is why.
yeah,
And that's like, and it's unfortunate that this film is going to be the target, because again, I think that the MCU has been bad for a while.
At
Um,
least since Phase 4. At least since Phase 4,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's just it's unfortunate that this is probably gonna be the one that brings it back, because people are gonna pin it on this, even though
Yeah.
I don't think it is the worst thing. I think like Ant-Man's far worse. Like,
Yeah,
I
like
think that
I genuinely think they're all just they're all merging into one
I
another.
mean,
Like they're
it's
all
hard
of
to
the
distinguish
same.
them.
Exactly. In my mind, they're all just the same quality of bad. Like they've all got sort of similar things that are slightly good about them, but
Yeah.
most of the negatives are exactly the same. And it is weird. Maybe it's slightly better than Ant-Man just because of Miss Marvel, as you say. Maybe it's slightly better than 4 because of that. But it's in that region. It's still
Yeah.
in my mind. If we're doing scores, it'd still be like a 1 out of 10 in my mind, maybe 2 if you want to push an
I'd give
extra
it
star for Miss
I'd give it a
Marvel.
3. Like,
Yeah,
there are, again, I like them on Vellani. I didn't completely hate it and despise it
yeah.
as much as Ant-Man and Thor. Like, it didn't make
I
me
mean,
think that like cinema is
yeah,
dead. But
yeah. Just for consistency, check the Ant-Man review. Whatever I gave Ant-Man, I'll give this film as well, just for consistency's
yeah,
sake. You know.
yeah, it's yeah, it's frustrating, but I don't know. Just don't be a dick about this
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. Like, I think it's okay to express frustration without being annoying and obnoxious. And yeah, that's the Marvels. It's not good. Watch it if you think you're gonna like it. Um,
Although, if you think you're gonna like it, chances are you're probably not. To be
no,
honest,
that's true. That's
like,
true. That's true.
yeah, yeah. I mean, watch it to throw in your discourse because everyone's talking about it. So watch
Do we need
it
more of it?
just for that.
Actually, do we need more of it? I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's true.
Uh,
That's true. That's
well,
true.
we'll see. Um, that's it. That's our conversation about it. This isn't getting in words. We don't even talk about
Oh
that.
no, it's not even gonna get VFX. No, just not happening
No,
for it.
no, no. Anyways, that is it. You can follow us on social media if that is something that you're interested in, through the links in the description. But until next time, thank you for watching. Stay safe and goodbye.